Okay, so I'm just going to talk about RSI, Relative Strength Index. One of the dirty dozen. So I guess this is the problem with people that say indicators work, but not that indicators. So those are called indicatorists. People that really, well, how can they possibly claim that I'm going to use indicators, but no, your indicators suck? But here is the white line. This is closing prices. It's a 1 period moving average. I just fattened it up. And I put it on top of my bars, just a bar chart. This is the NASDAQ. So that Apple, when Apple was screaming up, and I said like 2 weeks ago, whatever, 3 weeks ago, that's crazy. It's done. Put a fork in it. So I think the leading edge here is, and that's the weekly. So look at this. Now, this would be a place to buy on a bounce in the weekly, but as you go through the time frames, there's different trades. So if you were a trend trader on the weekly chart and you wanted to get in with a tight stop, I'm assuming a single position, and what would that trade look like? So these are just kind of obvious things. I think if you showed it to somebody, they'd be like, oh, I get it. If you said, well, even here now, you got to believe that this is a big deal, this price. If it ever hits this, if it ever hits this, if it ever hits this, and look how this screaming down, Coronaville. And, this reaction, we get all the way back to here. So the trend traders that buy pullbacks, if they bought this pullback at the end of the week, in my system, you need a wide stop. And you got stopped out. You got to come back in and buy at the market again and again with the same wide stop, because the market's telling you how big a stop to put in if you trade at the market after 1 week moves. After the market moves for 1 week. The market's telling you if you're only allowed to trade a standard position here, you couldn't trade this market. The volatility from the previous day, I'm not talking about 14/8 here, I'm talking about just look back. Like you just saw that week plunge, you're like, holy shit. And hopefully you knew that for whatever reason, you may have the belief that, the trend systems here are just having a wonderful, smooth ride, and everything's wonderful, and people have trend lines drawn there, and the 20 EMAs that Citibank uses, and all this bullshit people believe. You gotta trust and believe that as this thing climbs the wall of worry. Don't forget, this is all new highs for the NASDAQ. Tech mania, TikTok, you name it. And kind of a tame move. Not even a shoulder to sell on the weekly. I'm sure on the daily there's a head and shoulders and all sorts of stuff there. Anything. And here's the trend traders entry. The top becomes a bottom. Every time it pulls back a little bit, you could get in here, right? This is where you should be getting in, because it's the only pullback. It's a shallow pullback, which means you can run tight stops. You can trade really big, and you can make this trade. You could have made this trade, and it pulls back in 2 weeks. But here is where people, I think, get killed, is they go, well, fuck, I'm just going to keep adding. And they add and they add, and they have a stop that they never moved, and the stop happens to be back here, and they go, oh, shit. I mean, they didn't even make any money, right? So if you chase it, if you just keep piling on, so in the classic sense, where tops become bottoms, so we break above this, we come back, we touch that. If you buy that pullback, now they did stomp you if you ran your your stops too tight, because if you buy, everybody should be able to see the flaw in any kind of simple rule system that you don't have anything. It's got to be more than the pattern. It's going to be, how big is that pattern? Like, sure, this is a sell-off, and you could have sold here, and you could have got out here and gone, wow, that was just the most amazing. I never made so much money so quickly shorting something in my life. You probably didn't. And the only pullback, and it was hardly a pullback, it was one doji. So that makes this a completely measured move for people that think in terms of, oh, the 50 pullback. This ICT, I'm watching ICT videos. My God, this guy is just, how did a guy just couch everything in crypticness and say, well, you got to come back next week and tune in. He talks about ranges on, like, this is a 15-minute sell-off range. He's like, well, this is the range from the thing to the thing. And yeah, I got it. But dude, did you sell up here? Did you get out here? Was that like a giant position? Then he talks about missing entries by 2 and 3 pips. Huh? How are you not scaling into this? Like, if you had buy limits here, and you knew that this trade existed, like, even when you were here, you got to wait a few weeks, but like, if you trailed your buy limits here, you made money, right? If you trailed your buy limits, see this wick? When they tagged that, it went up the next day. It went up into the floor of this wick. So on a wick-to-wick basis of support and resistance. Now, ICT would walk you through all this shit and sell you a mentorship. Hey, man, you don't need it. Like, you got to be the person that can be in a trade for 5 weeks to realize that insane profit and never take another short again. Wait, you short here, you tried it. You short here, you tried it. Every time it rallied, you shorted thinking, oh, it's just going to go like this. Nah, I don't think so, because once this inventory is hit, all this stuff, I mean, we never took this out. And so the buyers are coming in here, and who's not selling on these rooftops? Somebody, but their target needs to be here, and their stop needs to be here, and you got to do more than one trade. There's no way you're going to build a robot that's going to, all of a sudden, after this smash down, going back into a bullish mode and say, well, we're just buying this pullback. But you could, because you can see that what's causing the reaction here is the people that wanted this price. They were hoping it was going to pull back. Man, well, we got it done quickly. See, it's done. Then you get your first chance to buy and pull back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 trend entries. Are you going to get trapped up here? Well, you already did. If you didn't cash out of something, I mean, you could see people getting out here. They tagged it. They pulled it all the way back. Somebody scalped that short from wick to wick, not on closing prices, because, closing prices is momentum. If they can't push it, they can't push it that high, and you don't even get a top, become a bottom here. It never really comes back. Kind of people just jumping on that thing. Then this is utter this is utter insanity. This is like Tesla, Apple. Yeah, the golden age is here. We can just plug shit in. Wah, wah, wah. We don't have a fucking grid hooked up in California because we're all high on our fucking chipsets we wrote. And all the embedded bullshit. Yeah, it's funny how that shit backfires when it turns out you just need a diesel truck to drag the shit around. You're going to need an iron ore freighter. You can't just... Dude, there's not an app for every fucking thing, you morons. Besides all of the fallout from all these people smashing all this shit. I mean, you're just... The drama, it's too much. You gotta get help. These people need help. So I put together this swing traders packet here. I call it limit grids. And it says 30 to 80, which means the stops are 30 pips to 80 pips. It's not going to work here on the NASDAQ, but that is the worst you can lose, is 30 to 80 pips. But you got to read the tickets now. I put in the latest versions and the old versions. So 8 hours to 12 hours to 4 hours to, I think I've got all day. No weeklies. So you'd have to put these tickets in every day or every 8 hours, or whatever you want. 4 hours I got on here. Only got one 4 hour. and the rest are, there's dailies and 12 hours at the bottom. So what you do here is you pick a zone and you say, well, I want to buy the Swiss franc. And you say, all right, I want to sell it. I'm going to sell it above this line for 8 hours. I'm going to cover 36 pip window. My first sell is going to come in on that rooftop. There you go. That's it. Now, the exit happens to be where we're at right now, which is a logical trade. This is a weekly chart. That ticket should last at least all day. I don't think 8 hours. I don't think we're popping up here in 8 hours. I'm going to pop up that many pips. Maybe. So here's where it looks like on the daily. That's the same trade. Now, it may look scary, like, oh, I don't want to sell up there, but there's sellers up there. You got to trust and believe in that. Now, here's where you're going to have to decide, well, is that your only trade you're going to do? It's not a lot of risk there. It's not, it's like, let's say we risk 30 pips to make 30 pips and we'll sell just above there where we know there's definitely sellers there. And I'm imagining that these last all day or 12 hours. You get to the platform every 12 hours and refresh it. If they don't fill you, whatever. Now, above here, I would drop it right here if this was like a daily script. Right on top of that wick. We know there's sellers galore up there. And the targets are going to have to be, some are going to have to be, I'm only make 10 pips. Because you got to pay for the fact that what if it doesn't come all the way back and do this glorious retracement off the top? You got to get paid on something. So you're going to have to risk 30 pips here again to only make 15. Now, you can make this a day, you can make this a weekly order, whatever. This is going to be your scalp that's pre-embedded at the top of this. And try not to duplicate the tickets, so I fixed the scale here. So if I can drill down and put more tickets up here. So I'm going to risk 30 to make 20. And I can cover this whole area here. Now, this is when you don't have to be there for the trade. If the market spikes up there and it comes back, you're cashing out, and you got to take those 15 pips. You cannot count on 80 pips or 40 pips just because or even, I'd say if you're not going to make 15, maybe take the spread and everything and the commissions, but I can put quite a few up here like this. And risking roughly $17 to make like $5. Now that doesn't sound right, but your chance of cashing out and making that scalp of 20 pips here at the top, and I could even start here on this daily high here. Any place is acceptable. There's no real, if you can afford it, like look at this daily chart and tell me you couldn't make money. ICT says some really weird stuff like, oh, well, if you don't hit the high of the day on Tuesday, the high of the day on Wednesday to get in there. And I'm like, this is harebrained shit without a trade plan. And saying just sell up here okay, I said it too. Sell on the high of the day. Yeah, but you got to have one that's a scalp and one that is going to be, it goes from wick to wick. The market really never goes anywhere. In the end, it may be a doji, but you end up with 2 wicks and you cashed out of both legs. You got to do all those trades. Here I'm going to buy in pullbacks. I'm going to go to the 4-hour chart, and I'll be able to see my trade in an instant here. And this is what I'm trading is about 8 hours pendings. I'll just start buying right here to make the market's closed now. This broker closes at 5 p.m. Like 5 minutes they're offline, but I'll mark it off with the trusty little box. I'm just going to buy in this 25 pip window here. It's a very simple system. I don't even know why I didn't think of it before, because I didn't have MT4, so I didn't think about it, It's like, I was going to run through some of this RSI stuff here. It's 5-period RSI. This is a grid here. 50 pips on the big lines. The skinny lines, 25 pips. And so if you're a trend trader, you want a confirmation from your RSI. I usually use a 3-period RSI. But when you get more oversold at a higher price, here on a 3-period, we'd have more oversold here than here. And you just buy this pullback. So every time you get a pullback like that. And when you get a really oversold at a higher price, so here's an instance here where this is a real killer entry because this sells off so hard and the price is higher relative to this RSI and this one here. So you draw a trend line right there. And then you project off of this for your target. And you get divergence finally at the top here. You kind of get a hidden divergence here. You get this triple divergence here. It's kind of below this line. And then you start getting reversals, to sell if you're in RSI. Like this is more overbought here than here. Price is lower. Now here it doesn't pay off, see? It comes down here, but it's just wick to wick on this situation. So the 4-hour wick to wick is a great trade. Look how quickly you made money and just banging around here between the wicks and just on the edge, the unfair value. Extreme prices. Like up here is extreme prices. So people are selling, Sell like here, it comes back to here. People get in here where the broke out. It's obvious, right? But the question is, what do you do? This is Friday's close. What do you do in the meantime? Do you sit there and wait for this rally to sell into it? Or do you wait for the breakout? Here's on a 3-period RSI, this would be a reversal. This would be more overbought. I'm not into this kind of like broke back, pull back to here. I'm kind of the guy that's going to just go, I'm going to start buying here. I'm just going to start buying there. And when it does this shit, I'm out, right? Like I just start selling here in limits. I don't want to babysit this thing. It's just too much. And even here, if you bought here and then you're like, I don't know, this is the news coming out. I don't know what the hell. But as soon as it takes this out, yeah, you sit back and go, wow, I'd probably get out about here. I don't want to stick around for all this chop. I have to wait here, though. If I start buying here, I had to wait until here to get out. So that would be... But I'm pretty sure I would have scalped something here. I see a little bit of a... This is a big bar. So within that, I'm sure I hit some stuff that was going to be 5, 12, 14 pips. So the high probability is you're going to make that first slam trade. Right now, if you're going to come in with buy limits here, they just started trading again. So here I'd do it like 4 hours or something. If I want to scalp, a short-term scalp. So here's a 20 pip window, 3K, $12 to make $6. Kind of getting out where you're at now. Spread sucks. Spread's 10 pips here. Euro versus pound, 10. See that spread? And when that spread tightens up, it's not going to matter. Like, I'll get a great fill if they took it down. But the beauty of this is that if I come up really close like this, I actually put the orders inside the spread here. But if you go above the ask with your first ticket, you're going to start putting sell limits up there. So just slightly tip this above. I go just above ask, it'll become sell limits now. So it's a ticket of all. It becomes buy or sell depending where you drop it. I just kind of made. Now this logarithmic means that you're going to see it. Tighter orders at the bottom. I can't see it here. I'll stretch it out. It's a little too tight. Yeah, so it's like 1 pip apart, 2, and it expands. 5 tickets, and then I got the same thing here with 7 tickets. They get closer together. So it's kind of a martingale thing, having that. I'll put it in here. Starting right here, we'll buy. So I have arrows on all these so that I can delete them. Make sure they come in like this. Okay, see now it's denser at the bottom. So it's like pre-martingale. All 1Ks though. You get about 500K going here really quick. Now this is going to be giant coverage, 36 pips, so 10K. Let's start buying right here in the void. So if they slam that down there, that might have to last 12 hours though. So if you want to change these, you could just change the time and rename it. You can make them last all day. You know, the tightest you can make them is 15 minutes, M5. You can play around. Here's a 15 pip window. It's a 6K. And the best target I have here is like 90 pips. I don't have many targets past 80 pips or 90, so you might want to change the targets too. So here's how you do that. You go to, here's your actual stop and take profits. So that is in pips there. You don't have to put 800 in there, you just put 80. And you got the time here. And the comments, to me, I have not spent the time to make the comments make sense, but they're down here if you want to edit them. I mean, I can make them so that they're... it's a lot of work to make the comments match the script. I guess you could just put the time in here, but I guess I'm counting on... I know what it dropped. So that's that. Let's see, the time is over here. Okay. So this is H8. Now if you put H4 in, it'll turn color. Because you're on MT4. So actually, you can put MT, these are MT5 time frames. It'll accept them. It'll run them. It'll compile, it just won't turn like this color. It won't when you punch in the number. It'll give you, so you can put M15 in there, M30, H1, H2, H3, H4, H6, H8, H12, and then D1, W1, I guess monthlies if you want. I think all days seems to be enough. You make it to computer once a day. If they didn't pick you up on your tickets, oh well. Maybe they slammed through them. They stopped you out. You put them in the wrong place. You put too many in the wrong place. Or you didn't put enough in. Or you didn't put in any scalps and you're sitting in a trade and you get stopped out. But like I say, 80 pips is a pretty, something really bad happened. Of course, if you're in the British pound, 80 pips stop is kind of like nothing. To survive in a swing trade on the British pound over the past few days, you would have needed 800 pips stop or something to still be on some fundamental trade or something. You thought, well, fundamentally speaking, so once you change the time frame, you edit this, compile it. Probably should have done that. So you could say, oh, I'm selling here for whatever reason. But I'm not. I just don't see the point in it anymore. I'll buy it if it tanks into this window. I'll sell it if it goes up. It's the pending limit lifestyle trader. I'm waiting for it's compiling everything in the system right now. I shouldn't hit compile. That's the only problem. It's like, now it's going to compile everything. There you go. So it's done finally. Whoa. Okay, so let's see, make sure I didn't get filled. All right, so we're looking at, just laying these tickets in there based on the voids we see. Here, I'm going to stretch this out. I can fix the scale. And then we're just going to look for a pocket to throw some tickets in here. I want to buy a pullback. So I've been buying this yen as it's tanking. Here, I'm just going to go all day on these tickets. So that's a 40 pip stop to make 60 pips. Now that's kind of doable in this currency. This currency's out of control like the pound. It's very insane. So it doesn't take long. These are only 3Ks here. But I covered this and cashed out already. So what I did was I put in the same thing I'm doing right here. And I did it on the dollar to the yen and euro yen. So I bought this window. And when it came to the floor, came to where it broke out, which is this price, I just got out. Went flat. And now I'm just going to come back in with the limits again. And I don't know if we're going to tank that much. I think the yen's done selling off, or I guess the yen is strong, so the euro's going to and dollar going to come back and beat the shit out of the yen is what I'm trying to say. So I am buying that plunge as they crush it. And here I think it's going to go up. So I think the dollar is going up. I think stocks are done. But I've been buying this whole plunge. So I've been making money as it's going down. Because every time this thing plunges, I just cash out at the logical exit point. I know it's not really available logic to a lot of people, but goes down there, cash out, right? Then tanks, cash out into the floor here, and then come in with limits. So I bought this plunge here, and I did the same thing on the euro versus, and this was the big crush engulf here. Sellers in that window, I just got out. So if you're going to hold it, if you scalp to that, you'd be holding it right now, looking for a little drift into Asia here. Some sellers up here, come back, and I'll come back with limits. And just cover the area. I'm not going to, if they don't fill me, okay, I don't care. So I'll get filled on something else here. Now, I wonder if the euro dollar is going to tank into this void. It's kind of sitting here waiting to tank off this top. But if you look at the 4-hour chart, it's a great scalp here off this window. This is just amazingly stupid. Here was a great buy. And then just went a little bit lower, a few pips lower. Another dumbass buy here. And, it's stupid. This was the big breakout as it broke down here. So buying here would have been the thing to do. So I bought a little bit here. And I scalped that. I didn't have many buys down here. I'm trading the yen at the time. So I just threw some in here because I saw this this hole right here. I said, anything, when this starts hitting these, that's pretty ripe. Buying territory there. Yeah, I think that looks like it's going to drift up too. And actually, I was buying this at the same time I'm buying the dollar versus the, they're both plunging into my buy limits. It's just easy for me to picture a retracement off the bouncing. So no big deal. Just throw the buy limits in there. Don't trade this New Zealand dollar because it's just not moving that big enough. But look at this thing. Look how they trapped in this box, come back to here. Now it's kind of like waffling. That looks like it's going to tank too. But it wouldn't matter because if I'm just trying to scalp it, I'm going to put buy limits here in this window. And I'm going to have my exits somewhere in there for the scalp. And definitely going to buy here. That's just easy. I think it's 100 pips on this bars. And all the sellers have already come in on this lonely wick here, and everybody's cashed out. Look how I just went a little bit higher. It doesn't, the day of the week, this is a weekly chart, by the way, so some of these opportunities only happen. They just rarely happen. And for so many pips, it's just mind-boggling. If you know where you're at in the way this thing's going, if you're a trend trader, you can sell here in this little rally and just ride that down. My God, you would have want to cash out here because the buyers come in there, you know. But look at them smash that through the floor. Wow. So now things are quieting down here, and I waffle into the election. Well, looks like Trump's going to win. So, I mean, people just aren't for, I know, radical leftists running the country. Yeah, let them run it. Let them run it to the ground. We'll come rescue them. You know, people that have their fucking shit together, we'll come peel the no nonsense and the ICTs away from their. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Put your Fibonacci's down. Put down your Ikamushu clouds. It's okay. It's safe to go back outside, everybody.